We are finishing our Be More Loving Week with someone you should absolutely learn to love first, yourself.
One of the most important relationships you will ever have is the relationship with yourself, and it sets the foundation for all of the other relationships in your life.
However, so many people struggle with low
Definitely.
self-esteem and communication problems. Communication expert Bob Paff is joining us today with tips on how to increase your self-love and confidence. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course,
Bob,
such an important topic.
This is such an important topic.
Yes.
And what I'm finding is, doesn't matter how successful you are, doesn't matter
Right.
how attractive you are, there's so many people out there who just struggle with low self-esteem and
Right.
self-love. Let's talk about the importance of really loving and owning who
Sure.
you are.
Well, you know, the most important person that you love, and I say it all the time in my book, Communicating to Win, the most important person you communicate with is yourself.
Definitely.
But we don't do that.
Right.
And here's why we don't do that. Nobody teaches us how to do that. If we're lucky, your parents taught you social skills, right? Please and thank you and all that.
Right.
But nobody really teaches us how to communicate with ourselves. So I say it all the time when I speak. Make sure you're communicating with yourself.
Okay, how do we communicate with ourselves?
Yeah, apart from like positive self-talk, I
Yeah.
know a lot of us, we'll say to ourselves and look in the mirror, oh, you look fat today. Oh, that outfit doesn't look great. And that's just reinforcing the negative feelings
How do we
that
channel
we have.
the
How do we change
positivity?
it? Yeah.
You have to get really clear on how you feel about things, and you have to own your feelings, and you have to realize that it's okay to feel this way. It's okay. This is. I had breakfast with a friend, and I said, Greg, I can do this and I can do that. What should I do? And he just said to me, "Be Bob Paff." And I thought, wow, if we could tell everybody that, just be you.
Can I have a high five
Right?
with that one?
Just be you.
Please.
And stop worrying
Yes.
about everybody else and what everybody else
Exactly.
thinks, because they're probably not on your team anyway.
Right.
That's some real
And so
talk right
the
there.
most important, at the end of the day, who are you left with?
Yourself.
If you have kids, if you have a significant other, at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you're left with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that you touched on the point that we need to stop comparing ourselves to other people.
That's
There
right.
is no point to do that.
That's
It's a
right.
waste of energy.
And well, we do that because we don't really love ourselves and we're not communicating with ourselves, right? So we're like, if I were thinner, if I were this, or if I were that, or if I were richer, if I were taller, if I were blonder, the list will never stop.
Yeah.
Right.
We can always be something elser, right? And so we got to go inside.
Yeah, you need more of yourself. That's what we're going for.
That's right.
So what are some of the problems that can arise? Of course, we have the negative self-talk,
Yeah.
but what are some of the actual tangible problems that come up when we don't have that self-love?
So many.
Well, we tend to find ourselves in bad relationships, don't we? So
Yeah.
either
Oh, yes.
personally or professionally, we get into these relationships, we become pleasers, we become fixers, we become all of these things. I myself needed to do, the book is really my life story, and we need to figure out why we do the things that we do and that we don't do, and the problems that arise when we don't do those things. So we make bad choices.
So here's that book that you mentioned. Tell us a little bit more about it. So it's your story, essentially.
It's my story. It's a
Communicating to
transparent look
win.
at my life. It talks about the mistakes that I made, and so it's a real story. Why did I make these mistakes? I had to stop. Groucho Marx says, "I love cigars, but I take it out of my mouth every now and then."
Yeah.
So we do the same thing over and over, and I needed to stop and focus on, wow, I keep doing this, and unless I figure it out, I'm going to keep doing this.
See, the thing about what you did, Bob, you figured it out. So what
Yes.
advice can you give to our viewers? Because there's somebody watching our show right now
Yeah.
that struggles with self-love. How do we even begin that process?
Well, it's a great question, and you need to start somewhere. For me, I'm a faith-based guy, I will tell you, and so my faith has got me through the worst things of my life. And you need to find out what is that connection. If it's a person, who are your go-to people? There's a chapter in the book called Who's on Your Team? So we need to figure out, how do I feel about this? What do I want in my life? I mean, so we spend more time planning our vacation than we do our lives, right?
You're right about
We
that.
really don't think about, how do I feel about this? Do I like this? Why am I doing this? What am I sacrificing to do this? We can't please everybody. You can't. And yet we try so often to please other people all the time, thinking that they'll love us, they'll accept us, and it really doesn't work, because, just like the 5 love languages, if I don't know my own, how can I tell you what I need?
There you go.
Right.
How can I tell you that? And the same thing for you if you don't know. And so we're shooting blanks or shooting in the dark or whatever. And so you really have to stop and think, how do I feel about this?
Wow, I feel like we can do an entire show
I
about
know, right?
self-love and just talking to you. Where can our viewers find more information about you, Bob?
And how can we pick up your book?
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. It's on Amazon. I'm happy to say it's a bestseller on Amazon. So you can go to Amazon, you can go to my website, bobpaff.com. It's easy. I'm very accessible as those around town who know me. You can find me on social media. I really want to help. I mean, I put myself out there in this book, and I really want others to find themselves in this book. Find your message. Find yourself in this story, and that's really what it's about.
Thank you for sharing your voice.
Thank you so much for being
Thanks
here.
for having me.
Of course.
Great conversation.
Yes.
Yes, I'm so inspired.
I know. I really feel like that just lit a fire inside of me.